Hello boobies and welcome back to the channel. Today I realized that the last video I put out was May 21st of 2025 and today is July 8th of 2025. I told Mrs. Boo, I said, Mrs. Boo, we should probably do a video pretty soon and put one out for the folks. She agreed, so let's get into it. Today we're going to talk about Colin's take on his investigations with Dawson Toller and the Side-Eye Guy. So let's go ahead and get into it because I got lots to say.
The demonic thing, that was, you just had to be here.
Demon? Ooh, that was creepy.
Wait a minute. Cut. Stop the tape. Is that Dawson Toller with the word skeptic pointing at his face? Oh my God, that is Dawson. Holy cow. Now, Dawson has been called a lot of things. He's been called one who fakes his content. Some people say he's too enthusiastic. Some people say that he is the golden boy. Some have said he relies way too much on devices. But I guarantee you that this is the first time that Dawson has ever been referred to as a skeptic.
What did you say?
Colin, if you think Dawson is a skeptic, you should go out with Kenny Biddle sometime. And Kenny, I'm not throwing any shade at you. I loved investigating with you and would do it anytime I was invited. So that's not a bash on Kenny Biddle. Colin, if you really want to go out with the skeptic, invite Kenny Biddle sometime. So in the last day or so, Colin from the Paranormal Files put out a couple videos. It was kind of a 2-for-1 package. It was actually one video, two videos rolled up into one. You guys know what I'm saying. And it is 4 hours and 8 minutes long. And don't worry, folks, we are not going to sit through any of that because I didn't watch the investigation part because I've already seen Dawson's take on that investigation and I didn't really need to watch it again. But what Colin said in between the investigations and before them and after them, that's what we're going to focus on today because, man, he had some major misses. And Colin, I'm not throwing shade in your direction. I'm not talking shit about you and I'm not trying to start a war. Simply Strange, if you see this isn't a battle against Colin like you thought the last time it was. And again, that's no shade against you either, but I'm just saying you made it look like it was a major beef between me and him. So yeah, let's go ahead and watch the intermittent parts, we'll call them. Sorry for the pause break. We need headphones. Turn my headphones up. Turn these shits up.
Did I ever tell you about the satanic girl that was in here?
No. I don't think so.
Okay.
In today's video, I brought two different skeptics to two of the most haunted locations in America to try and
Why is it called the Demonic Park Hotel? Imagine that. Demon in the title.
capture proof of the paranormal with debunkers.
Could you please clap back for me?
SEG is actually a skeptic, so that's actually accurate.
And let me tell you, by the end of the night, people who went into this very skeptical came out alive with some absolutely frightening personal encounters with the spirit world.
The demonic thing, that was, you just had to be here.
Demon? Ooh, that was creepy.
I kind of feel like it's down there. 3, 2, 1.
That was almost like 4 footsteps. It feels cold here.
So I might actually go back and watch the investigations, not for this video, but just because I'm intrigued after watching that.
Welcome to tonight's episode of the Paranormal Files, where we're trying something that we've never done before. And even though we took skeptics, debunkers, ghost hunting, some of the evidence that we captured in these two different investigations was incredibly compelling, and you might even say a little bit more frightening than what we capture in our normal videos. Anyways, thank you for tuning in today. My name's Colin Browen, and welcome to the Paranormal Files.
So this is the first major discrepancy I have with this. So I know for a fact that he did not set this up. Dawson invited him to go investigate with him and he agreed. So this was not a experiment with skeptics. It was just a collab. And he's turning this into yeah, I filmed this for an experiment. No, you didn't, dude. You did not. You filmed it, then came up with the idea that, oh, let's call it the skeptic experiment. And now you're putting out a video that's a 2-for-1. So that's not accurate, Colin. I don't hate you. We're still friends.
That's my opinion! Don't you get it?
So today's episode is really interesting, taking skeptics, and specifically in one case, a debunker who watches paranormal videos and kind of makes fun of them, ghost hunting, to see if we could experience some of the things with them that we normally do when we shoot our videos. You know, it's really interesting. I've done a number of investigations in the past with skeptics. The way that I've always felt, and this is just personal, is that if you don't believe in the paranormal, or you're not really trying to seek it out, you're not going to have an experience.
I actually kind of agree with that. If you're going to go like, say, every noise you hear, you're going to say, well, I can't figure out where it came from, but, you know, it's not paranormal. Are you really investigating? Like, let's be honest. I mean, if you are so closed-minded that you don't think that anything could be paranormal, then I don't see the point in going out. Kenny, just kidding, dude. Love you.
He's out of line, but he's right.
This happened back in 2022 when I was shooting my web series that I did with the New York Post. There was a reporter that came out that was incredibly skeptical. Every single time anything happened, there was a little knock on the wall. He'd say, oh, that was probably a rat. Or the REM pod goes off. He'd walk over, take the whole device apart, screw everything back in, say, oh, this is probably, you know, caused by the wind blowing on it, even though we're inside. And even when he examined one of the devices that was going off and the whole crew was freaked, even when he examined this device and determined that he couldn't provide an explanation for what happened, he just claimed that the device was malfunctioning. Literally, I'm not kidding. He just sat there and said, yeah, this has to just be broken or something. I can't explain why that happened. It's just gotta be broke. So that episode obviously never made it to air. It was pretty bizarre. I felt like he was just kind of laughing at what we were doing the entire time. And I feel like that's really important. And you're gonna see that play out across these two different investigations tonight. If you're skeptical and you want to experience the paranormal, my biggest advice would be to just go somewhere with the intention of making contact with something or someone, or at least just be open to what you might experience.
I agree with that. Like, a lot of that. Not everything, but like to be made fun of and to be like you're the butt of this guy's joke. That's not cool. If this guy like set him up to just shit on everything that happened and like not even have, you know, if you're going to say, oh, that was probably a rat in the wall. Well, I mean, how do you know that? Like, you know what I mean? You almost have to kind of prove it was a rat in the wall. Again, we're agreeing, Colin. We're good right now. We're not going to be good later on, trust me, because I've already watched this stuff. But at this point, we are good.
Because from my, 10 plus years of investigating, if you sit there and every single time something happens, you're immediately just explaining it away, I don't know what to tell you. The whole night is going to go nowhere. The vibes and the energy that you put out into the environment matter just as much as what you're picking up on in the environment.
I agree with that too. But the thing is, if something happens, you've got to get off your ass and go try and figure it out. Don't just sit there and be like, that could have been a rat. I'm going to sit here. No, get up, do your homework, go do your shit. You're investigating, right? Or are we just ghost hunting, looking for an experiment?
So if you're going in there with the energy of, yeah, this is all just bullshit and I don't believe in anything, well, I feel personally that whatever's there or whatever these energies are isn't going to want to come speak with you or interact with you or even show itself around you. We don't understand the paranormal. I don't claim to at all. If someone does, my best advice, turn around and run the other way, because nobody knows at the end of the day anything about what we're documenting here on this channel, on all these other channels, throughout different paranormal, research studies and experiments that have been done across the world. No one really understands what this is because it's all subjective.
So I actually disagree with that. So there are, let's be honest, like the majority of the YouTube channels are not doing scientific experiments, but they could be done. Mariah from The Occult Life and Zach, they want to do something with the spirit box. They want to work with the spirit box and find out okay, what stations say, what are actual radio stations. She's got a good idea for the experiment. Is it an actual science experiment? Nah, probably not, but it's in that direction. There are actual science experiments that can be done.
Now, I do want to state that I am not going to be giving my thoughts on certain communities here on YouTube in this video.
Uh-oh.
This has nothing to do with that. People know my takes on all of that. I've had a lot of people, lie about me over the years and just completely make up things to get clicks themselves. So I have my own thoughts about people online who engage in that behavior and produce videos like that. But, you know, this is our world that we live in. Everybody has the freedom of speech for the most part. So you could say, you know, what you want. I support your right to do so.
Okay, yeah, I mean, dude, you got to admit, Colin, it's gone both ways. I don't think a lot of the nastiness comes from the content creators. They're going to be critical, yeah, but there's been very little nasty, to my knowledge. I mean, you could prove me wrong, show me something, I don't know, but yes, some of the fans on both sides can be brutal. I mean, I've received it, you've received it, everybody's received it that does content. It goes both ways, though. I mean, trust me, I've had some nasty stuff said about me and my wife and other stuff like that. So I get where you're coming from in that end, but I don't think that it's the content creators themselves that are causing all this shit.
However, in this video, I worked with a guy named Side-Eye Guy here on YouTube. He has made some videos that were a little harsh about my family and I, which I think is kind of the beauty of this situation, is that we sparred back and forth a year and a half, 2 years ago. We exchanged messages and angry words, but I kind of listened to him and got what he was talking about, and he did the same. He ended up changing like a title, and I kind of did the same on my video, and it was interesting. He actually opened my eyes to a few things, and I think I did the same for him.
That's actually cool that you guys got together and met up and squashed it and whatever. I think anything I've ever seen where Side-Eye Guy talks about you, he always does talk about how he believes that you're a good dude. Like, and I do too. I think, I just, in my opinion, I think you're too big of a believer, if that makes sense. I'm really glad that you guys got to meet up, squash out your differences, and investigate together. I think it's cool. A lot of people are probably going to give you shit. A lot of people are probably going to give him shit. But at the end of the day, the bulk of the people, I think, view this as a good collab.
But I am not condoning, you know, the content that's put out, especially dealing with all of my friends in the paranormal. Everybody knows, you know, what it's like to have people make videos about you. So yeah, I'm not condoning the actions of people that do those sorts of things, especially when they veer into the territory of just taking cheap personal pot shots or insinuating things that are false about individuals, you know, painting someone out to be something that they're not. I definitely take issue with videos like that.
And I do too. I take issue with videos like the Angry Cajun. He's a complete piece of shit. Like, he's just nasty to be nasty. He doesn't really even prove his points. He's just a nasty dude. Now, guys like Beardo, I don't think are the shape. He's not. Side-Eye Guy isn't. Crow isn't. I'm going to leave people out and I'm going to get in trouble for this, but you get my point. They're not being nasty. Side-Eye Guy, I compare him to like Dave Chappelle. Like, Side-Eye Guy says some controversial shit, but it's all in the line of comedy. He really is, you know, all about the comedy first. He makes good points, but, you know, like Dave Chappelle, you offend people along the way. It's just, I mean, it's good comedy, in my opinion. It's, Colin, another thing too is you and your friends seem to have stuff week after week after. You get more in one investigation than I've had in my career. And I'm sure you don't know my background, but I've done a lot of investigations. They're just not on YouTube. I've done a lot of residential stuff for a lot of years. Or you get more in one location than I get in 25, 30 houses. Because most of the time nothing happens. And we don't pull out the apps and things like that in a residential case because I don't think it's appropriate.
But this is different. This video is all about investigating. So without further ado, let's get into our first investigation here. This video, or portion of the video, was filmed back in October of 2024 when we met up with a guy named Dawson Toller at a notorious location in Texas called the Old Park Hotel. I've investigated that place plenty of times on the channel. It's always given me some absolutely crazy energy. He invited us out and we decided to join him. Now, Dawson's not technically a debunker or a full-on skeptic, but out of everybody I've ever worked with, he's definitely the most skeptical person that I've ran into, and he's very good friends with a lot of people in the debunking community. So he qualifies as a skeptic to me. I know he might have changed in the last few months, but you're going to see some really interesting stuff here. But for now, let's cut back to when we arrived at the Old Park Hotel that evening. We met up with Dan, who you guys will know from the previous videos we shot here. I absolutely love the guy, and yeah, things are about to get weird.
Well,
So I gotta say this, and this, Dawson and I are friends, but he is the furthest from a skeptic as you can get. And if he's the most skeptical to you and your friends, man, I think you should maybe rethink your friend group. And I'm not saying your friends are bad people or anything like that. I'm just saying that you guys tend to get stuff all the time. And why is that? Is it because of the DR60? Is it because of the multiple apps that are used on every investigation? There was one time you had the dead bell out that I saw. Even you were like this, you didn't say this, but the look on your face was like, God damn, this thing will not shut up, and you turned it off because it just dings for no reason. So how do you say that that's any kind of evidence of anything paranormal going on when it just dings?
Since I got a video made on me calling me fake, and I made a response all mad, things have went down a lot in the activity wise. I agree. I really do think that there's something to being more open to it, versus being more closed. One of my friends, he is completely like the most closed-minded person I know about it. I genuinely don't think he will ever have a paranormal experience. I don't. I think when you're too closed-minded, even if something interesting happens, you'll be more willing to write it off as, you'll take those liberties, okay, well, somebody outside is messing with me, versus nobody's outside messing with you. It's 4 a.m. type of thing.
Everyone's entitled to believe what they want to. But I think this has been a very interesting night, man. It's made me look at things a bit differently. You probably look at things a little bit differently. But it's been fun. I'm glad that we came up and did this, man.
We should do it again sometime if you guys want to investigate again where nothing happens.
So I left that stuff in there because, those were really relevant points. I agree with a lot. Plus, it was just a funny clip. Like when Dawson says, if you guys want to investigate ever again where nothing happens, just look me up. I thought that was funny.
As you can see in that footage, there wasn't necessarily a lot happening there that evening. I don't know if that's the location itself, because the first time I was there wasn't much to happen. Then the second time, there was a lot to happen. And the third time, there was almost nothing. Or if it's the energy. I don't know if I got a lot of it on camera or not, but Dawson was, asking tons of questions, trying to debunk devices, saying he didn't believe in this and he doesn't want to use this, and he thinks this person told him that this isn't legit, so we're not going to use this. He didn't, necessarily really believe in Estes to a degree, or the DR60, hated the DR60, which I understand there are complaints about all those devices.
This is where you start to really make it sound like the whole issue of that night and nothing happening was because of Dawson being a skeptic. Dawson is not a skeptic. I've said it several times already, and I'll say it again. In the equipment that he didn't want to use, you can't go out and put out the flashlights, for example. Those are known to, there's nothing paranormal about what's going on with the flashlights. The DR60 is a flawed recorder. It's known. You can't say you've never heard that I didn't know that thing was flawed and recalled because it was a piece of shit. That's it's a flawed recorder. That produces noises that, honestly, YouTube channels turn into whatever they want it to say. I mean, a lot of times. I haven't watched a lot of your stuff, but I've seen enough I think I get the gist of what you're all about. You absolutely believe in all the equipment. The apps. The one video that I reacted to that you did, you and your brother-in-law had 2 apps on that bridge in Delphi. Of course things are going to come out of that could relate, because it spits out such general information. Something's going to stick, and then it causes your investigation to go that direction. You base your questioning and whatever on what the app says, and that's I've done this time and time again. I'll set the app on my desk. I can make it fit any story I want to. My house is not haunted, but I can make it fit any story that I want to. I did a video called Finding Big Pussy, which was a Sopranos thing, whatever. And there was so many things that that app said about big pussies unaliving that made sense. But it's a fictional story. So that's why a lot of that equipment, we don't like to use, because it's known to be flawed.
But I just feel like that sort of kind of mentality going into it can put a damper on the activity that you experienced that night. If every time something's happening, you're finding a rational explanation, even if you don't know that explanation is actually what happened, the activity levels, in my opinion, are going to drop down significantly. And you kind of just saw that because that was a very, very dead night.
And that's what investigating is. You want to find out why it's not paranormal before you start jumping to the conclusion that it is paranormal. You can't call every knock, especially in old buildings and things like that. You can't just, well, I can't find out exactly what it is, so it's a ghost. I mean, you can't do that. I don't know that you do that or not, but I'm just saying you have to assume it's not paranormal before you assume it is paranormal. You almost have to prove it's paranormal more so than you have to disprove it.
We do experience nights like those a lot in the paranormal, but I do think that it all boils down to intention and energy when you're investigating, especially if you're trying to get these things to come speak with you. I feel you have to go in there saying, come speak to me, like I want to believe, kind of like the X-Files. Nothing bad against Dawson. I actually think that, I talked with him. Connor and I had some pretty long talks with him off camera. His channel's doing really well, and he seems to have opened up a lot more since that video. On my end, I know that I was feeling horrible in that video because literally the next day, Ballinger's like a 6.5, 7 hour drive from Houston, and the next day when I got home, I got like violently sick. It wasn't any sickness that had a name attached to it. It was just a really bad virus, but I was feeling it that night. I had the chills and like sweat. It had just come on when we arrived at the location. So yeah, I was absolutely dead and I was feeling terrible. Just think about that investigation. Think how it turned out.
In conclusion, your whole video seems to, the premise of this portion of the video, it seems that the message you're sending is that nothing happened because Dawson is too skeptical. And I'm going to tell you right off the bat, that's not the case. It sounds like you're blaming him because nothing happened. When you said yourself, was it the location? Because that building, you said one time there was nothing going on. The next time it was very active. The last time it was nothing going on. So, but it does sound like you're blaming Dawson as being a skeptic for why nothing happened in that video. Again, if I'm wrong, correct me. I would have you on our show to talk about this. I think it would be an interesting conversation because when I saw that you called Dawson a skeptic, I laughed my ass off because no one would describe him as that. None of his friends, anybody that knows him, well, nobody would say, oh yeah, he's a skeptic big time. No, not at all. But let's get into the next part. So the next part of this video, Colin and Connor go out. I think Connor was there too. I didn't watch it yet, but they go out with the side-eye guy. Now, the side-eye guy I've investigated with as well. And I'll be honest with you, I was quite surprised at how serious he takes it because he is very skeptical. And I thought it was just going to be a night of jokes and busting balls, and I really didn't know what to expect. But he really is open to having an experience. He really wants to. So he does take it serious. Yeah, there's jokes and things like that, and when you ask him to do the Estes method, like he'll block you on Facebook and pound your face in, but he'll still do it because, he's still open to the idea. Okay, let's see if there's anything to this, even though he doesn't believe it, but something could change his mind. And I think he's open to that. Let's get into the side-eye guy part next.
And now let's move on to our second portion of the night where things honestly really got crazy.
So things got crazy when the actual skeptic went. So this should be pretty interesting.
We met up out there with the side-eye guy. He is a debunker. I've already kind of talked about it in this video. We have an interesting past, but he said that he wanted to have us come out and do an investigation with him. And you know what? I'm down. I'm always down to break bread. And we met up with him that evening and headed into the old Nevada State Prison where we got a brief historical tour. I'm just going to let our tour guide take it away.
So yeah, we're not going to really get into the investigation of this. I would recommend, Side-Eye Guys put his video out about it too, and so is Colin, obviously. So go to their channels. I will try to remember to put the link in the description below. Go check them out, and you can watch them in their entirety. It should be interesting to see two different perspectives on a location, so I'm curious to watch them both myself. Okay, another thing I want to point out about the Side-Eye Guy too is a lot of people think that he's really, really mean. He's really not. When he's going after people in his videos, it really is for comedy value. It's just jokes. It's not personal. But when it is personal, he says, he clearly states that when he's being serious, he's being serious. But if he doesn't say that, just assume that he's just, busting balls and making jokes. That's what he does, and he does it well.
Again, I just want to state here, I do not stand for slander, bullying, harassment, none of those things as it pertains to certain communities and videos that are created and posted about other creators, including myself and everyone who I'm friends with on YouTube. So I see things differently than a lot of people, and I just want to make that very, very clear, because there are a lot of things in the videos that people have made about me that they've gotten very incorrect, not only just conceptually, but actually with like data and footage that I have in my possession that I could release to make people look stupid. So I just know that there's a lot of wrongness that goes on, and I don't support that stuff.
So I don't support any of that stuff either. The bullying, the over excessive nasty, like none of that is called for, and I stand with you on that. I don't support that. But I really do think, and I'm not saying this in your case because I don't know specifically what you're talking about, but we have watered the term bully. We have watered it way down to where it's like, if I critique one of your methods, let's say, for example, then, people call that bullying nowadays. That's not bullying. Like, it really isn't. Ghost Club Paranormal, I think that's their name, the girls with the Beardo thing. Beardo wasn't bullying them. Like, and they made it sound like he was private messaging them and harassing them, and it, like, none of that happened. That's not what bullying is. So we really should get back to a place where terms actually mean something, so that when you call somebody a bully, like, there's something behind it, not just, well, he didn't like my video. And again, I'm not saying you, I'm just saying in general, we need to use our words a little better, I guess, because we've watered down everything to where it's almost meaningless.
However, he was out here and we were doing this, so yeah, it turned into quite the night. Just honestly, just take a look at what you're about to see. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Paranormal Files. On tonight's episode, as you probably know by now, we are back at the Nevada State Prison. So I don't know if y'all remember the first time that we came here, but we had so many things happen, banging in the upstairs. Connor and I were so freaked in this area that we're in right now that we actually had to have the people who work here escort us to the next portion of the building, which I don't think we've ever done that in another location. It was just that freaky.
See, that's what I'm talking about. The side guy just sitting there the whole time. But again, like I said, we're not going to get into the investigation. Go watch both of their videos about it. That probably is a really, really cool place. It looks to be. I like doing jails and prisons and places like that. But at the end of the day, this was a really, really good collab. I've said this before. I'm glad these two got together because it does show that people can disagree and argue and whatnot, but they can still come together and just because people disagree doesn't mean you hate them. You know what I mean? Like, Side Eye Guys told me, he's like, look, I think Colin's cool. So, he seems to be a decent guy. So at the end of the day, we can disagree and not make it personal.
But he said, I feel a cold spot here, and I really do feel like it's cold. Connor and I were cracking jokes like, man, it's a safe space. You can share that stuff with us. we were laughing. But I was proud, that's what I think it takes. I think you have to go into this with an open mind to experience things. Now, I'm not going to promise a skeptic that if you go in with an open mind, you're going to see, a ghost floating down the hallway or a demon's, bright red eyes glowing in the forest. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm trying to get across is if you have an open mind, then you might have the experiences that we tend to have, especially when we film our videos and we got 2, 3, 4 people with us who all have open minds and are bringing that energy. I feel like that supercharges an environment too, and you can see it with him.
Yeah, I'll actually agree with that too, that like SEG really does take these investigations serious. I mean, at least when he's working with people. A couple that he's done on his own look like it was all for fun, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's like the Clown Motel. I don't think he took that one very serious. But this one, and when I investigated with him the one time, I mean, he was very, very serious and very open-minded to what, if we heard a noise, we'd go check it out. And if we couldn't find out exactly what it was, he's like, okay. I'm not saying it's a ghost or anything like that, but it's just like, okay, I can't figure that one out. But he really, he looks for the answers. He's taking it serious. And I do believe he does go in with an open mind.
Side-eye guy went into this whole thing actually, I believe, wanting to experience something, and when the experiences started coming, it was more like, let's experience this in the moment, and then afterwards you can go back and try and figure out what it could have been, which I appreciate. And it actually led us to one of the most shocking, kind of eerie discoveries of the night, when his debunker mind took over and he wanted to try figure out what was making that noise in the cell block hallway. And what we found at the end of the hallway was a little creepy. All right, so
I don't know, guys. Like, I just had a little.
So yeah, I'm not going to spoil this because this is actually a pretty decent part of the video. I did watch this part. But that's really not a debunker mindset. That should be a paranormal investigator mindset, because it's your job to try and debunk everything that you can. So the term debunkers could a lot of times go hand in hand with the term investigator. Like, it really could, because that's really what debunking is. It's part of the investigation process. And that's all Side-Eye Guy did in this, and they came up with an interesting conclusion. So again, go check their videos out. I'm sure it's in SEG's video too. I haven't watched it yet, but hopefully I can today. We've been a little tied up.
At the end of the day, crazy stuff, actually. I've talked to both those guys since we shot our videos, and they both really thought that we had experienced something on the evenings that we filmed these investigations. Obviously, with Dawson and the old Park Hotel, the place was not as active as I would have liked it to have been, but, you know, in the Nevada State Prison, you get everything that we typically have in our videos, and I was so thankful that we actually went to a place that was active for this, because I was worried the whole time, like, we're gonna go somewhere that's dead, and then of course it's gonna be like, oh, you guys are just adding noises and pulling strings and blah blah blah, yada yada. But we actually had everything. We had bangs, we had shuffling noises, we had what sounded at one point like, I think, like a whistle or a voice, cell block movement, a ton of different things.
I guess in the conclusion of your experiment, did we come to the conclusion that the theory is wrong? Because when an actual believer, Dawson, went with you, not much happened. But then when the full-on skeptic went with you, you said a lot happened. You know, you said, I think, this isn't a direct quote, but basically what you said was, the things that normally happen when we investigate happen there. So with the full-on skeptic there, that really doesn't lend evidence to the theory that you have to, that a skeptic isn't going to have things happen. So I guess if I were to take this, that's the results of that experiment, is that it really didn't prove your theory. It actually kind of disproved it. So, but anyway, guys, that's all we're going to do today. Like I said a couple times, go check out their videos. Go check out Dawson's video too. Again, I'm going to try and remember to put these links in the description below. Guys, I'm going to be really, really honest. I needed to get this video out. I've been in a funk to where I don't want to watch paranormal stuff, make videos, just you guys all know what's going on, but that's where I've been lately. And this was important that I got this done and got this out. It's been challenging the last couple days doing this, but I still worked hard on this, and I'm glad that I got to do this and get it out. So hopefully this is the push I needed to get me more in a regular upload cycle, because I really love doing this. I've just not been in the mood recently. So, but that, I'm not saying I'm quitting or I'm not going to do this anymore or anything even close to that. It's I really want to get back into the cycle of uploading videos, hopefully once a week. So, but thanks for watching. Let me know what you guys think. Like and subscribe if you haven't yet. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Did the experiment work? What's your thoughts on that? What does being skeptical minded, does that kind of prevent you from having an experience? So I don't know. I'd say it's inconclusive, or if anything, it kind of, this little, two investigation thing kind of disproves the theory, I think. So we'll catch you on the next one, guys, and see you later.
Bringing you the truth about the paranormal, not letting the fingers spread lies and John Crescent.